Hello, good morning. Welcome to Best Oral Presentations 1. I'm Graciana Alessandrini. I'm a geriatrician in Argentina, and I'm going to present you the speakers of the talk today. The first speaker is Dr. Bomi Choi. She is a research professor at the Institute of Symbiotic Life Tech at Yonsei University in South Korea. The title of her talk is Digital Technology Use and Social Isolation, the Moderating Role of Age-Friendly Environments. Following Dr. Bomi, Ms. Megan Davis is going to talk about opportunities for person-centered care at mealtimes, a tri-national rapid ethnography of resident experiences. Megan Davis is a fourth-year PhD student at the University of Basel in Maastricht University as a part of the Trans-Senior Network and Training Program undertaking her PhD Tri-National Ethnography Multi-Case Study of Quality of Life in Long-Term Residential Care. After her, Ms. Ua Isu is going to speak about Let's Talk, a program to enhance the communication between different generations. She is the CEO of Yang Yang Foundation in Taiwan, a non-profit organization promoting self-healing concepts and practice to engage older adults towards healthy aging and aging gracefully with dignity. She is also a PhD student in educational psychology and counseling in National Taiwan Normal University. Following Ms. Ua, we're going to hear Dr. Shin Moon. Dr. Moon is an associate professor at the College of Social Work, John A. Hartford Faculty Scholar. She is a Fulbright Korea awardee and the lead author on Measuring Quality, Independent Assessment of the Florida Statewide Medication Managed Care Program Final Report. She is going to talk about a 5-year independent assessment of quality of care in Florida, managed care for enrollees in long-term care. After Dr. Moon, we are going to hear Mr. Eduardo Schmunis. He is an architect in Argentina, the director of Gerontological Habitat Research Center at the Architects Central Society in Buenos Aires, Argentina. He's an accessibility specialist, member of the work program Vision Third, International Union of Architects. He has written 2 books. One is titled Architecture and Nation, and the other one, Accessibility for Older Persons, and many articles about these topics. He gives conferences and teaches on these topics in University in Argentina and Latin America and Caribbean. Finally, we are going to hear Dr. Hamid Tentu Abdul. She is a professor in gerontology and social policy, the founding director of the Institute of Gerontology in Malaysia, now known as the Malaysian Research Institute of Aging from 2002 to 2020. The title of her talk is Baseline Assessment for Age-Friendly City Taping Perak. We're now going to hear the presentations. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bomi Choi, and I'm a research professor at Symbiotic Life Tech Research Center at Yonsei University, South Korea. Today, I am presenting the research titled Digital Technology Use and Social Isolation and the Moderating Role of Age-Friendly Environments. And here is the acknowledgement. The present age is experiencing 2 contrasting phenomena. One is the technology development, also known as gerontology, for reducing social isolation among older adults. And number 2, we also are witnessing the lack of digitalization among older people, which is associated with a higher risk of social isolation. Among various contextual factors, this study focuses on the age-friendly community environments that might moderate the impact of digital technology use on social isolation. Developed as a WHO agenda, an age-friendly community is defined as an environment that promotes active participation among older residents in the neighborhood. So in an age-friendly communities, there might be more affluent social capital such as trust, reciprocity, collective efficacy, social cohesion, etc. And better access to digital technology and lower risk of ageism are also the distinct characteristics of an age-friendly community, which might promote active utilization of digital technology among older adults. Therefore, this research hypothesizes that the beneficial effects of digital technology use on reducing social isolation would be moderated by age-friendly community environments. Moving on to the methods, the data was drawn from 315 older adults who are 65 years or older and participated in an online survey. The independent variable digital technology use was measured and aggregated by the frequency of independent use of these digital technology in 4 areas, such as in primary, cultural, economic, and public areas. The dependent variable, social isolation, was also measured and aggregated with 11 questions asking perceptions about confidence and loneliness. And the moderating variable, age-friendly community environment, reflects the subjective evaluation of one's community in terms of physical, service, and social-cultural aspects. And a linear regression model was performed with SPSS process macro, and after analyzing regions of significance with Johnson-Neyman plots, a simple slope analysis was conducted. And moving on to the result, the first one is a table. Table 1 presents the results of linear regression analysis. You can see the results of the confounding variables. And after controlling for the socio-demographic and health variables, you can check the interaction term between technology use and age-friendly environment is significant. So we performed the Johnson-Neyman plot to check the reason of significance. So this plot showed the effect of digital technology use was significant when age-friendly environment is less than 2.44 here, or above 4.05 out of 5 Likert point scales. So based on the reason of significance, the standard point for simple slope analysis was set as 2.38 and 4.08, about this area representing lower and higher levels of age friendliness of the community respectively. So when you see the result of a simple slope analysis, it can be seen that 2 regression lines are extending in different directions. So when the age-friendly environment level is low, represented by the solid line, you can see that digital technology use increases the risk of social isolation. In contrast, when age-friendly environment level is high, represented by this dashed line, you can see that digital technology usage lowers the risk of social isolation. So based on these significant interactions between digital technology use and the age-friendly environment of the community, we would like to suggest the implications like this. The results of this study show that the efficacy of digital technology use is conditioned, moderated by the age-friendliness of the community. When living in friendly communities for older people, older adults might use technology to promote their social connections, such as participating in online hobby clubs or being an active member in social networking service, etc. However, when living in unfriendly communities, older adults might use technology that doesn't necessarily promote meaningful connections like passive media consumption. And although follow-up studies are needed to investigate underlying mechanisms, the results of this study can be applied to interventions aiming to promote digital technology acceptance among older adults. For example, practitioners can conduct surveys on how older adults perceive the age-friendly environments of their community when intervening in their digital technology acceptance. And that ends my presentation, and thank you for your attention, and I will be glad to answer your questions. Thank you.
I'm pleased to present my paper today titled Opportunities for Person-Centered Care at Mealtimes, a tri-national rapid ethnography of resident experiences. This paper is part of my wider PhD project and aims to optimize transition into long-term residential care. This research is conducted under the Trans-Senior Programme and in conjunction with the University of Basel and Maastricht University. By conducting 3 ethnographic case studies, we were able to immerse ourselves in long-term residential care environments in Switzerland, the UK, and the Netherlands to really understand life in long-term residential care. Not only that, but this methodology allowed us to really understand the views of people living with dementia and cognitive decline to really represent the full sample of life in long-term residential care. We had intended on a longer ethnographic study in each location, but as data was collected during the pandemic, we opted to move to a rapid ethnographic approach, which allowed us to collect rich data in a more condensed timeframe. In Switzerland, we collected data from October 2020 to March 2021. Here we conducted interviews and observations, which included informal conversations with participants as situations arose. UK data collection took place from August 2021 to October 2021. Just like in Switzerland, this included interviews, observations, and informal conversations, although due to the stage of the pandemic compared to Switzerland, more observational hours were recorded. The final data was collected from October to November 21 in the Netherlands. Due to time and access, we were limited to collect data from October 2021 to November 2021, and this was observations only. Person-centered care is a huge concept, and the amount of data we collected was equally so. During analysis, one common theme started to come up time and time again, whether prompted or not, which was food and meal times. This was clearly an important part of long-term residential care living for residents, so we decided to focus on this initially when looking at residents' experiences of person-centered care in long-term residential care. In each case, the first thing we need to consider is context. First, the Swiss case study. Here, meals were offered in a large communal dining area, smaller communal dining areas, or bedrooms. The main restaurant in the Swiss long-term residential care was set up like a restaurant with designated catering staff. This meant that care staff were not required to serve food during meal times and actually mostly ate their own meals during this time in view of residents. The smaller communal dining areas were positioned on residential floors, which was typically where residents who required more assistance dined. Next, I'll move on to the UK case study. Just like in the Swiss case study, meals were offered in a large communal dining area, smaller communal dining area, or bedrooms. Finally, we have the case study in the Netherlands. As with the other 2 case studies, there was a main communal dining area, and residents could also eat in their bedrooms or a small dining area, which was situated on residential floors. Several themes became apparent while analysing data from each of the 3 case studies. Listening to and implementing resident choices, enabling residents to help or care for themselves and others, knowing the person in the past and the present, and providing individualized care in a communal setting. Firstly, I'd like to discuss listening to and implementing resident choices. Choices were available for residents during meal times in each of the 3 case studies. However, residents weren't always involved in choices available, and certain restrictions such as dietary requirements restricted the implementation of choice. In the UK and Switzerland, residents told us about the fact that there were 2 options each time a meal was provided for them. The issue in both cases was that menu planning was done without consulting residents. So while residents made a point of saying there was choice, they also pointed out that they weren't always happy with it. Portion sizes were also mentioned. In the UK and Switzerland, where meals were pre-plated, Residents often commented that the portions could be too big or too small depending on the person. Residents eating special diets, such as soft diets, for example, commented that they wanted to have more but never got it. In the Netherlands, meals were served family style, which not only meant residents could serve themselves, but they had much more control over their portion sizes. Where to sit created another conversation starter with residents. In the UK and Netherlands, residents could sit wherever they wanted. However, residents who required more assistance were slightly more restricted, as staff members had to help them mobilise to the table and often chose where to sit for them. In Switzerland, the places of where to sit were the same every single day for residents, and these were selected by staff members who actually looked at the resident history to decide where they would sit and who they would sit with. We had examples of a resident who was very happy with the person she was able to sit with and found interesting topics of conversation with them, which created interaction. However, there were also incidents of people with language barriers and without common ground. In the UK, we also had a situation where staff chose for someone to sit at a table, but didn't take into account the new physical constraints of the resident. At the moment, he had issues with hearing, which meant that he couldn't actually hear other people on the table, and this prevented him from wanting to eat in a communal area again. The next theme, enabling residents to help or care for themselves or others. This actually follows on from the theme of choices, because including the choices actually led to residents being able to care for themselves more and also interacting and providing for others. In the UK, residents only had access to food that was provided from the long-term residential care home, and at other times they didn't have access to food. Whereas in the Netherlands and in Switzerland, residents could help themselves to meals, to extra food, or to drinks as they wished in the communal areas that were situated on the residential floors. During meal times in Switzerland and the UK, residents didn't serve themselves food. However, in the Swiss case, they were able to serve themselves drinks as they wished, whereas in the UK, this was also restricted. In the Netherlands case study, it was completely the opposite. Residents could serve themselves food, and this actually led to them helping other residents and taking it upon themselves to make sure other residents had extra helpings, had drinks, and it encouraged interaction between the residents. The next theme is knowing the person, past and present. To successfully deliver person-centered care, it's really important to know the whole person, which includes who they were prior to moving into the long-term residential care home, as well as who they've become since moving in. In the UK and Swiss case studies, we were told this was factored into the resident menu planning, although residents themselves were not involved in this. At times like this, it led to residents being unhappy with the choices they were offered. Other resident history was also important to know. Some residents preferred to eat alone because they had done so for 30 years. Some residents were glad of not having to cook or clear during meal times, but others wanted to be able to help. Some residents had previously preferred to dine with others, but now found it challenging for physical reasons, such as the hearing impairment I mentioned previously. And some found it more challenging because of things like false teeth, which made them feel self-conscious. Some residents enjoyed the company of others, but found it more difficult to share a table with them if residents reacted to them spilling, which made them feel self-conscious in themselves. The final theme is providing individualized care in a communal setting. This is really the overall theme that all of the others lead to, because in each case, when you're looking at person-centered care, you're supposed to look at the individual and make sure the care is tailored to them. But the problem is you're also trying to serve a community, and you have to take into account every other person in the place. In the UK, for example, where there were staff constraints due to the fact that care staff actually served the meals as well, there were issues with meals being served later and people waiting. There were issues with care having to be provided at the same time as meals being served, which meant that staff had to ask residents to wait for the care. In addition, things like residents being able to mobilize and help assisting them with mobilization. We had an incident with one lady who wished to mobilize herself to the table, but unfortunately, because staff were trying to find the most efficient way to get all residents to the table rather than waiting, this lady was not able to mobilize herself, and actually often, even though she preferred to walk, opted for the wheelchair because she didn't want to hold staff up. We observed this as well in Switzerland, and it does seem to be the residents that require the most assistance that end up being the least person-centered in these situations. We observed one resident who needed full assistance with mobilizing, and she had to wait for some time to be able to go to the dining area downstairs, even though her meal was ready for her. In conclusion, there are opportunities for person-centered moments during the mealtime experience. There are times when this is taken, and there are times when the opportunities are missed. The main issue is that people are still trying to perform individualized care in a communal setting, and it's hard to look at a person as an individual and as part of a community. And we need to take this into account and look at where we can provide person-centered moments to make these opportunities happen. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, everyone. My name is Huai Xu from Taiwan. It's my honor to present in the IAGG 2022. Today's topic is about Let's Talk, a program to enhance the communication between different generations. And the objective of the research is to design an intergenerational communication intervention program we call ICEP for older adults and youth, and we examine whether the program is effective to redress the ageism. Ageism is everywhere. According to the WHO's recent study, 1 in 2 people worldwide are ageist, especially against older people. And we also found out that ageism could have negative effect and health harmful to older adults, especially during the COVID-19. It made it even worse. And also more and more study talking about education and intergenerational contact could be a basis to have effective intervention to reduce ageism. So the theoretical background of ICEP is we made a hypothesis that interaction may reduce prejudice between the group. And according to the attitude theory from the cognitive, affective, and cognitive aspect, we examined the program, and we designed the program according to communication predicament of aging model, try to avoid any stereotype. Also, we have adapted experimental learning theory to make the program more fun and practical. Now let's look at the method. The ICEP was carried out in the community center. It's a 3-week program with 1 meeting per week and 100 minutes per week. It's a group setting with a 6 person in a group, half older adults, half youth, and there are 50 older adults participated, 51 youth participated. The mean ages for older adults is around 67, and the mean age of younger adults is about 19 years old. And all the programs are led by well-trained facilitator. They sharing the personal interest, revealing the difference between communicating, also practicing the communication skills. We use the game elements, role play, word cafe method to conduct the ICEP. We also collect both qualitative and quantitative data before and after the program. For the quantitative data, we use the modified version of Kogan attitude to older people, the modified KAOP. So there is only the scale for older people, but we also modify it for older adults could have expressed their attitude toward younger people and use the two-way ANOVA analysis. We also invite participants to write down 3 adjectives about aging and youth before and after the program. And we also interview 8 older adults and 8 youth. Here are some coding scheme structure we have done based on the adjective and based on the KOAPs, aspect, and categories. Here are some examples I'm going to show you. For example, like the Q1, how youth would like others to describe them when they are old. The example here shows beautiful, wise, elegant. And Q2, how youth describe older adults, a complainer, crafty, stubborn. And Q3, how other people describe older parents when they were young. This older adults wrote lovely, filial piety, cute. Q4, how older adults describe young people, independent, trendy, and clever. So we base on all this adjective and do the further deep analysis. And for the quantitative analysis, as you can see from the chart here, the blue bar shows the pre-test, the orange bar shows the post-test, and both young and older group shows significant improvement after the ASAP. Now let's look at the detailed full aspect, including the appearance, physical, psychological, cognitive, interpersonal relationship, and social participation, and also work and economy safety. Both young group and old group shows a significant improvement after the ISAP. And for their personal feeling and connection, we also asked them, is it meaningful for you to being with another generation? Is it helpful for you to being with another generation? Both young and old group showing significant improve after the program. And also we asked them about behavior change. After the program, do you prefer to increase your time to be willing with the other group? And both are showing significant increase on the time as well. But what's interesting is that the older people in the study, they don't like to deal with young people so much. So you will see a much significant increase for the older people after the program. And here is a interview feedback. I think it's quite interesting, but due to the time strain, just share with you. It's from a 20 years old male. He said that the older adult asked me a lot of questions, all of which she couldn't say to her grandchildren, including, are you impatient with your parents? Do you think your family members often use affection to blackmail you? Do you often say, oh, you don't understand me? And then sharing the phrases, you don't understand me, with me, really made her angry. She actually, the older adult, just wanted her grandson to call home more often. After thinking about it carefully, she found out that the elders we meet in real life usually have relationships, such as relationship of grandparents, grandchildren, teacher, and students, and so on. And those relationships prevent us from communicating and understanding well. If we just look at each person a normal human being, then we may break the generational hostility. So the conclusion is, ISAP promote better well-being and positive attitude toward each other and aging process. Ageism could be reduced through ISAP. Further interventions could be investigated for educational policy. Thank you very much for your listening.
Hello, I'm Jean Munn. Today I'm presenting for myself and Dr. Margaret Holland on a project we worked on for several years. The project summary is that in 2011, the Florida legislature voted to move most Medicaid recipients into a managed care system. The Florida Agency for Healthcare Administration used a staggered rollout schedule to successfully introduce the program. The program rollout began in August 2013 through March 2014. Approximately 83,000 Medicaid recipients were moved from the previous multi-waiver mixed reimbursement system. And another 100,000 new Medicaid recipients were added during the study period. The legislature requested that the program be evaluated, and Florida State Colleges of Medicine and Social Work were contracted to actually do the evaluation. 3 components of the evaluation were access, quality, and cost effectiveness across 3 sites of care, nursing facilities, assisted living communities, and enrollees living at home. The full report address is available here. We looked at research question 1, which is, are long-term care facilities effective at achieving positive health outcomes? Initially, we looked at quality of life, as that's an optimum goal of all persons and is appropriate for all sites of care. We did see that over the period of time, home-based enrollees indicating they were very satisfied decreased from 8% to 5%. This is really important because the program incentivizes moving enrollees from their nursing facilities into the community. So this dissatisfaction with quality of life is of importance. However, assisted living facility enrollees indicated that they were very dissatisfied with their quality of life, actually declined over this period of time. The proportion of home-based enrollees, again, felt much worse. How an individual perceives his or her health, such as poor, fair, good, very good, or excellent, is a recognized predictor of functional decline and mortality. This evaluation examined whether perceived health status changed over the evaluation period, irrespective of site of care. There were modest decreases in descriptions of good and very good self-reports, with modest increases in reports of excellent health. These data do not include nursing facilities. While pain is a common symptom experienced in older adulthood, and pain management does not seek to ameliorate all pain, pain should be treated when it is moderate or severe. Moderate and severe pain indicates that the pain experienced by enrollees interferes with their daily lives. This slide shows the counts and percentages of moderate and severe pain in nursing facility enrollees. The proportion of enrollees experiencing moderate or severe pain actually decreased over the 5-year observation period, from 41% in 2015 to 38% in 2019. Older adults, especially frail older adults, are at risk of dying from complications of influenza and pneumonia. To combat mortality associated with influenza and pneumonia, vaccinations have been developed and administered for these diseases. This slide shows the counts and percentages of vaccination records among nursing facility enrollees. The proportion of nursing facility enrollees with up-to-date influenza and pneumococcal vaccines decreased over the 5-year evaluation period. Influenza vaccinations decreased from 75% to 70% in 2019. Pneumococcal vaccinations decreased from 50% in 2015 to 52% in 2019. In conclusion, most enrollees reported feeling satisfied with their overall quality of life, regardless of race, ethnicity, or location of care. However, the proportion of home-based enrollees indicating they were very satisfied decreased over this time period. When quality of life indicators were examined by race and ethnicity, white enrollees reported more positive evaluations of their overall health than Black and Hispanic respondents. Hispanic enrollees, both those living at home and in ALF settings, showed decreases in positive reports, good or much better, and increases in negative reports when describing and comparing their overall health. There were no discernible differences between male and female enrollees for these quality indicators. However, there was a noticeable pattern of fewer positive indicators for self-reported health and quality of life for Hispanic enrollees living at home or in ALFs. Black enrollees also reported less favorable indications when compared with white enrollees. Further, there were disparities in preventable hospitalizations. We did not have time to show the slide with that, but they were disproportionately represented in preventable hospitalizations, and as well as Hispanics. So what we see is that the overall population has actually fared well during this change in the structure of administration. However, when we were able to look closely, we did see some differences based on ethnicity and race regarding preventable hospitalizations and quality of life. We also found that those living at home did present more dissatisfaction throughout the progress of the program. Thank you very much. I would like to acknowledge that this was a team effort, that our part is specific to quality, but the overall report does include both access to care and cost effectiveness. I hope this information is helpful.
Buenos días. El aumento mundial del número de personas mayores y de su esperanza de vida es un gran triunfo de la humanidad, pero ello tiende a elevar las posibilidades de discapacidades y dependencias. La discapacidad se presenta con mayor incidencia en los estratos sociales más bajos. Discapacidad y pobreza van de la mano y el riesgo de ser pobre en la vejez es elevado, especialmente para las mujeres. El envejecimiento poblacional es muy acelerado en América Latina y el Caribe, en contextos de pobreza y creciente urbanización. El 85% de la población es urbana. Las urbanizaciones existentes, así como las nuevas en general, no tienen en cuenta las necesidades de las personas mayores en cuanto a la calidad de los espacios que ellas habitan. Las personas mayores son mayoritariamente urbanas. La velocidad del aumento de la esperanza de vida supera ampliamente al de las obras necesarias para el hábitat de las personas mayores. El hábitat comprende básicamente las viviendas y los edificios para distintos usos, el espacio público y el transporte. Para las personas mayores, sus viviendas representan un valor muy alto en cuanto a su identidad, sus recuerdos, su futuro y su pertenencia barrial. La vivienda figura entre los condicionantes de la salud en el informe del Dr. Mark Lalonde, ministro de Salud de Canadá, en 1974. La Organización Mundial de la Salud plantea que las personas mayores deben seguir viviendo en sus propios hogares dentro de sus comunidades. Esto implica urgentes mejoras en el hábitat en general y en sus viviendas en particular para mejorar su calidad de vida. Hemos investigado sobre viviendas de interés social para poblaciones de escasos recursos económicos que viven fundamentalmente en los denominados barrios populares de Argentina, desde una perspectiva de curso de vida y desarrollo sustentable. Por esto último, no se puede analizar el tema sin tener en cuenta no solo las capacidades funcionales de las personas mayores actuales, sino a las próximas por venir. La prevalencia total de discapacidad en Argentina es del 10,2% en hogares urbanos y la discapacidad motriz en ellos es del 25,2%. La discapacidad motriz de las personas de más de 65 años en Argentina es del 30,2%, siendo la más prevalente entre todas las discapacidades. La Argentina aún hoy se destina un cupo de viviendas de interés social accesibles de entre el 5 y el 10%. De las mismas para personas con discapacidad y personas mayores que requieren accesibilidad, ubicadas en las plantas bajas de los conjuntos habitacionales o viviendas unifamiliares. Esto no es adecuado dado el aumento de las personas mayores y de las discapacidades. La accesibilidad es la condición espacial y especial donde se han eliminado barreras que impiden estar o circular con seguridad y confort a todas las personas, independientemente de su edad, género y condición físico-mental. Existe también un grado menor de la accesibilidad, que es la adaptabilidad. La disposición número 34 del año 2005, aún vigente, del ex Ministerio de Planificación Federal de Argentina, dice que el 100% de las viviendas sociales deben permitir adaptabilidad, por lo menos en una habitación y en un baño, para personas con discapacidad motriz. Esto está en línea con la Convención Internacional de los Derechos de las Personas con Discapacidad y con la Convención Interamericana de Protección de Derechos de las Personas Mayores, a las que nuestro país ha adherido. Esto ratifica nuestra posición en contra de los cupos de vivienda antes mencionados. Cerca del 75% de las personas mayores viven en casas individuales de más de 70 y hasta 100 años de antigüedad, sin accesibilidad desde su origen, con deterioro y sin mantenimiento. Presentan humedades en paredes, pisos y techos, generando hongos que producen alergias y problemas respiratorios. Su baja calidad favorece el desarrollo de enfermedades endémicas que potencian la discapacidad. También influyen las ubicaciones de viviendas para personas mayores en bordes de ríos, que ante inundaciones provocan serios problemas hasta ocasionar muertes, cuando no infecciones si son cauces contaminados. Un mal hábitat afecta a la salud. Nuestro análisis se centró en los proyectos del año 2016 de los institutos provinciales de vivienda de La Rioja y de San Luis, Argentina. Un equipo de arquitectos y gerontólogos realizó un análisis de las mismas para hacerlas accesibles o adaptables, ya que no lo eran en los proyectos originales. En cuanto a costos, se demostró que el aumento de superficie para hacerlas accesibles o adaptables era inversamente proporcional al aumento del costo del metro cuadrado. Desde lo cualitativo, contar con accesibilidad o adaptabilidad, por ejemplo, con medidas suficientes para circular y girar con sillas de ruedas, es básico para garantizar seguridad física y psicológica a las personas mayores con discapacidad motriz. Las caídas, hechos previsibles en la vida de las personas mayores, las posibles discapacidades y dependencias, traen aparejados elevados costos en los subsistemas de salud, el público, el privado y el de las obras sociales sindicales, así como para los afectados y sus familiares. La Organización Mundial de la Salud indica que el 70% de las caídas de las personas mayores se producen en sus hogares, el 30% restante en el espacio público y en el transporte. En la mayoría de los casos de discapacidad, y más ante la dependencia, una persona, por lo menos del grupo familiar, se dedica a los cuidados del familiar que los necesita. Estos cuidados los hacen mucho más las mujeres que los hombres. Las caídas son hechos previsibles en la vida de las personas mayores. Su importancia deriva de las graves consecuencias que suelen tener. Estas implican para las personas mayores, sus familias y para la sociedad elevados costos personales, psicológicos y económicos. Un gran número de ellas son evitables con accesibilidad y adaptabilidad en el hábitat. Nuestras conclusiones fueron: los habitantes de las viviendas de interés social, es muy probable que no tengan posibilidades de hacer las adecuaciones necesarias en ellas, por no ser ni accesibles ni adaptables ante la discapacidad y la dependencia. Muchas personas mayores que viven en esas viviendas no han podido y posiblemente no podrán cambiar sus lugares de residencia por distintos motivos socioeconómicos, dado un entorno de pobreza, falta de reposición y de mejoras del parque habitacional, que no aumenta con la velocidad y calidad necesaria ante el crecimiento y el envejecimiento poblacional. Por estas causas seguirán envejeciendo en ellas y así la discapacidad, la posible dependencia y no tener accesibilidad o adaptabilidad en sus viviendas los expondrán a graves situaciones. El Estado Nacional es el único productor de viviendas de interés social a través de los institutos provinciales de vivienda. El Estado ve a este tema como un asunto particular, solo apuntando a lo cuantitativo sin considerarlo íntegramente dentro del hábitat. El parque habitacional argentino es obsoleto, ni accesible ni adaptable las más de las veces, de baja calidad y con hacinamiento. Esta baja calidad del hábitat, junto con algunos factores intrínsecos del envejecimiento, la discapacidad y la dependencia, más otros factores como los ambientales y las barreras arquitectónicas, urbanísticas en el transporte y en la comunicación, implican menor calidad de vida y elevados costos personales a las personas mayores con discapacidad motriz, a sus familias y a los sistemas de salud. Muchas gracias.
Hello and greetings from Malaysia. Population aging and urbanization are two major trends that Malaysia is experiencing. 75% of Malaysia is urbanized, and in 2021, 7% of Malaysia's population comprised of older persons 65 years and over. The government is embarking on an age-friendly initiative and peak typing as a pilot slide. I am presenting the baseline assessment of age-friendly typing. Perak used to be the most populous and wealthiest state in pre-independent Malaya, with an oil and tin mining economy. from 1980s onward, its total population has fallen behind Selangor, Sabah, Johor, and Sarawak. And if you look at this Perak population in the two census areas, in two census years, you can see that there's a lot more of dark coloring where the population of older person is emerging. UNDP Malaysia and the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development commissioned UPM to conduct a study to develop a local action plan for Taiping to create an environment that is child, elderly and disabled friendly. The project was launched by our First Lady, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Women, Family and Community Development. Taiping Municipal Council applied to be part of the global network of age-friendly cities and communities on the 10th of September in 2019 as an initial commitment to the age-friendly agenda. 5 major activities were carried out for our baseline assessment of Taiping, Perak. This review was conducted to compare several cities in the world to get the general concept and construct. Focus group discussion was done to identify the issues and challenges in Taiping to become age-friendly. Online survey was also conducted to get the issues from the opinions from the public 18 years and over. And in addition, we also did site observation on 12 selected locations so that we can know what is the issues at the local level. And in addition, we also did public consultation of over 120 short interviews at various public locations in Taiping conducted by our colleagues from the INET organization. These activities gave us the ideas and issues that are faced by the local people of Taiping to become an input. Our research shows that the perceived age friendliness of Taiping is moderate, 53.5% out of 100 score, using a 20 items like 5 points Likert scale. An average mean score of AFCC domain is highest for communication and information, with a mean of 3.8 and a standard deviation of 1.2, and the lowest was for community support and health services with a mean of 2.2 and 0.7 as standard deviation. Older respondents recorded a lower perception of age friendliness in terms of civic participation and employment. Common issues of complaint are walkability, uneven and unsafe pathways, lack of suitable seats, and irregular public transportation, and many of them are unaware of the community events. In general, the respondents consider Taiping as an excellent to good places to grow old in. Residents of Taiping express a strong sense of pride and identity with the city in terms of its heritage and greenery. They acknowledge a broad range of issues and challenges, especially in the lack of employment opportunities and pull factor of larger cities. Some of the issues can be remedied by the local authorities, while others require cooperation with other government agencies at the state and federal level. With 1 in 6 residents are older person, Taiping can be considered as a naturally occurring retirement community. The local government system in Malaysia is structured differently, with direct health and social services provided by federal ministries, departments and agencies. The baseline assessment helps the local population and municipal council to identify and prioritize their needs, from a range of basic issues, public sanitation and hygiene, to a more idealized vision of development, especially in a post-pandemic age. In general, the public and the municipality are still relatively new to a more inclusive participatory approach in local planning. As such, there has to be a greater alignment of AFCC initiative with other development plans at the local, state and federal levels. researchers can play a strong role in facilitating the uptake of new ideas and sectoral lessons for future replication and upscaling. Thank you for your kind attention.
Hello, very nice hearing you. Very interesting talks and works you've done. I would like to ask you, Megan Davis, about your work, because I found it really interesting what you were talking about, missed opportunities. Hello, very nice hearing you. I'm sorry, I'm hearing talks and works you've done. I would like to ask. Sorry. I was hearing an echo. So can you tell us what do you think are the barriers for those missed opportunities you identified in the 3 countries? I'm sorry.
Sorry, there's a little bit of feedback.
Yes, I can notice. I don't know how. Can you tell us what do you think are the barriers for those missed opportunities you identified in the 3 countries?
Sorry, could you repeat just the end of the question?
Yes, I think perhaps some of you has the presentation on live, and we are hearing the presentation while we are talking. What I was asking, you showed us in your conclusions that there were some missed opportunities for intervention at center person care in daily mealtime on the residents on long-term care. So I wondered if you could identify the whys of these missed opportunities, the causes, I mean. Center person care.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting one, and it goes back to the first theme in the results, which is really context. Because the opportunities that were missed and that were taken were very, very different across each of the 3 countries. The Netherlands, for example, had much less issue with health and safety and regulations. It's not to say they didn't have health and safety regulations, but they were more open to pushing the boundaries, let's say, and also the regulatory board did not give grading to the care homes in the same way that happens in the UK. So they were able to take more opportunities of allowing residents more freedom and more access to provide their own care, help themselves to things, whereas in the UK was the biggest comparison in this, where the opportunities were there but were unable to be taken. And it's not because staff were unwilling, it was very much that they had difficulty with what they were allowed to do, but also because of the setup with staff becoming the providers of meals as well as being the care staff, it was really challenging for them to do both at the same time and really have time to provide as much person-centered care and give as many opportunities as in the other countries where there were designated staff for catering and there were designated staff for care.
Interesting. Thank you. Ms. Bomi Choi, I wanted to ask you about your ICIP program. I was hearing it and I thought it should be interesting to practice or to take this program you made to other countries. Have you thought of the possibility of making this program of integrating communication between youth and elders to diminish ageism in other countries, like in Latin American countries, or have you thought about experience, or do you have any experiences in other countries?
I'm afraid that presentation belongs to Dr. Huai's.
I'm sorry. Yeah, right. Okay. I'm sorry. I confused your presentation.
My presentation was
It's about technology. I'm sorry. You talked about technology. That's right. My mistake. I'm sorry. You talked about technology, and I found it really interesting, your conclusion that when the environment is not friendly, people tend to use technology, but not for engaging or not for engaging with others, but just to spend time, no?
Right.
That was really interesting, because one would think that if you don't have access to, I don't know, to other people, technology would be a means of communicating with each other, but you found the opposite. How do you explain that observation? How could you explain that observation? What do you think about it?
Mm-hmm. When you analyze the main effect of the digital technology usage, many gerontology research, most research emphasize the beneficial effects, only the beneficial effects of digital technology. But when you only examine the main effect, you cannot cover or elaborate on the heterogeneity of the effects. So that was the main point of our research. And when I also covered some part in my presentation, but when you live in the lower level of age-friendly communities, there are higher risk of ageism. So active communication with other residents might be more difficult for those residents. So I hypothesized that was the main reason for this diverging effect of digital technology use. But I think this mechanism should be analyzed in further research. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I want to thank you all for participating in this interesting presentations. We've learned a lot, and now we have to close because we have run out of time. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in other conferences. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.